its prime minister and accordingly its government. However, Canadians never get an answer for their serious and very important questions regarding their cost of living, security, morale, and many other questions. It may be early for Mr. Mark Carney, our Prime Minister, to answer these questions. He didn't set his cabinet yet, but never too early for the Canadians who are suffering for more than a decade to have their living and live like Canadians before. Actually, it is very important to know where Canada is heading. Especially, our Prime Minister said we are heading to a recession. Oh, after this hard time, we are heading to a hard time. We need an answers for these questions. It's my pleasure today to have Mr. Janice, MP of Sherwood Park, Fort Saskatchewan, Alberta. Mr. Janice has established himself as a principled and outspoken voice in Canadian politics, serving as a shadow minister for international development and human rights, known for his passionate advocacy on issues like religious freedom, human rights, and government accountability. He brings a wealth of experience from his roles on the Foreign Affairs and Government Operations Committees. And personally, I know MP Garnett that he works for the people more than any other considerations. Welcome, MP Garnett, in Oxygen with Rami. Thank you.
Well, thank you for that very generous introduction. It's great to be with your viewers and with you for this discussion.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you for coming to Oxygen Studios. And we have a lot of serious questions Canadians are always asking. First topic is the elections. Conservative lost this elections, not by too far. I have some stats like 8,000,056 for Liberals. For Conservatives, it's 8,000,000.1, almost 0.1. 169 rights for the Liberals, 144 for the Conservatives. Still, there is one or two pending. 49% for the votes, 42% for the Conservatives, and overall, the turnout was high, 68% for the voting. My first questions: why Conservative lost these elections, though there was a very important issues raised by the Blues, and there is a strong leader, as people believe.
So I think what is I'd say a couple things. Obviously, we're disappointed with the result. We wanted to be able to form a government and offer Canadians the change that I think people are looking for. And we will, we'll continue to have internal discussions about various aspects of the campaigns, and obviously we welcome people's feedback on it. I think one big story is the yardsticks, the goal lines kind of changed. It was a real realignment sort of election because normally, if you get 41% of the vote, you're going to have a majority government, right? There's a lot of majority governments in Canadian history where they got less than that. But you had this kind of realignment where there were a lot of people maybe who hadn't looked at the Conservative Party or who hadn't voted before, who were struggling, who were feeling the pinch of the cost of living, who were struggling with crime issues in their communities, who voted Conservative. And so there was this huge growth in terms of our party, and you saw that growth particularly among young people, new Canadians. And here in the Greater Toronto area, we saw a lot of growth in terms of support and seats. But then you also had a collapse of the NDP, a consolidation on the left, which created the bizarre, hardly imaginable situation where a party got 41% of the vote, but still didn't win the most seats. So we obviously have to understand what changed and adapt to what maybe it may just have been this election where we had those circumstances, or it may be a new reality. So I think the point is we worked very hard to reach out to all kinds of new constituencies, and we succeeded in doing that.
Yeah.
We
24 seats added?
Roughly, yeah. I can't remember the exact number.
Yeah.
But obviously, there's more work to do, and you don't do the next step by undoing the first step. You acknowledge the first step, and then you say, how do we take the next step while continuing from that first step? I know just speaking about being here in the Toronto area and the different communities here. When I was first elected in 2015, I started coming to the Greater Toronto area to connect with different faith and cultural communities. Part of the reason for that was I was working on religious freedom issues in particular, and got to know the Coptic community, other communities who had a real concern about international religious freedom. And I started establishing relationships and kept coming back for those issues as well as for other kinds of things. Yeah. But at the time, it was necessary that I do that because there was none or almost no members of Parliament elected from the Conservative Party that were in this region. And you fast forward to today, and think how much that has changed. We've got a very strong Greater Toronto Area caucus now, and our caucus, to a significant extent, reflects the diversity of this country. So that's great news in terms of building our presence. I'm not going to stop coming here, though. I'm going to keep coming to support that work. But it's growth that in 2015 we said, man, we need to get young people, we need to get new Canadians, we need to get kind of working people, union members, and I think you can see the growth there. There's more to do, but you can see that growth, and it's really Pierre Poilievre's leadership and vision that has helped us take this step, and our team is united on working with him to take the next steps after that.
Actually, I cannot deny that you as Conservatives did a great job. You reached more very important and close topics for the Canadians, but a lot of people, at least this 42%, were shocked, and we expect that Canada needed change because the changing faces, some of them say changing faces does not change the reality. So if I tell you...
And maybe I'll just add, in terms of that change piece, I think one other indication of kind of the unusual situation here is we had successfully persuaded Canadians of our positions on many core issues, to such an extent that the Liberals had to do everything they could to look like they were change. They had to pretend like they were changed. They had to pretend that they were going to do some of the policy things that we were going to do. I mean, they're a complete reversal on the carbon tax, for example, at least in terms of the rhetoric. So these things demonstrate that we made gains, but we also won the arguments. And so Canadians wanted change. It's clear for most Canadians want to change. I think some people were taken in by the change of faces without the change in the organization. But folks are now going to see pretty quickly that the Liberal Party is still the Liberal Party. And the challenges that we've had over the last 10 years on affordability, on crime, on social cohesion, and many other issues, those challenges will continue until we have actual change, until we have a government that is actually committed to reversing those failures instead of just changing the pain.
Let me ask you a harsh question.
Yeah.
Your words compelling, but the reality, Conservatives didn't win this.
Yeah.
So I will tell you some points I thought about it, and tell me your comments about it, of why the loss was there. Was it a campaign planning, your campaign planning, or the staff needs something wasn't there?
Well, I don't necessarily want to go into all those nitty-gritties. I mean, I think there were gaps in terms of things, and if there hadn't been gaps, we would have won, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to like I think it's important for people to understand the context of the gains that were made, and in a way the shifting yardsticks because of the collapse of the NDP. But we didn't win. We wish we'd won, and not for our own sake, but for the sake of Canadians. So I think you could probably go through and identify, some different areas where those gaps were. But I think we also need to look at the data, right? So we're, as a party, we always undertake a process where we look and say people may have ideas about what caused the problems, but then if we actually dig in and say, okay, if we look poll by poll, if we look at what ridings we did better versus worse, that will give us the information we need.
I will repeat these questions, but in a light way.
Yeah.
So I will mention some points, and you pick up the most important thing that affects you.
Okay.
Is it the message? It is the change of the ridings number and size. Is it a rigged election? Is a change of Canadian demographics? Is it the media or Ontario elections?
Okay. Well, I don't think it's a rigged election. I'll be clear about that. We believe the elections were fair, and that we didn't win them. In terms of some of those other factors, I mean, I think we'll, after every election, we have a data-driven process to try to figure out, how do we tweak and strengthen those things. But as part of that process, we're going to want to hear from people that were involved in the party. So if your viewers are were involved in local campaigns or have feedback,
definitely.
I think it's very helpful for them to provide that. But then we weigh that feedback against the other things we're seeing.
Definitely, we can even collect this, and we can discuss it later. So now we come to a very strong leader, which many believe that Pierre Poilievre did a great job and achieved a lot in reaching people, dealing with all these changes, pick up the right things that Canadians feel. But now people are asking about his future, especially that there is an appointment for an interim leader, Honorable Andrew Scheer. He was a former leader. So we want my first questions. What do you know? What is the future of Pierre Poilievre as a leader of the Conservatives?
Yeah. So I strongly support him continuing to lead us. I think his strong leadership and his willingness to just continually listen and yes, to say, hey, what went right, what went wrong? Let's make the changes we need to make and push forward. I think his strength is demonstrated by his willingness to do that, and the fact that we're going to grow together under his leadership, but also the fact that he brought us to this point of the incredible growth we've seen in our Conservative coalition. I think our Conservative Party coalition under him across regions, across demographics, is strong and is united and can continue to grow. And just to make a further point on that, I've had a lot of conversations with caucus colleagues. I've been listening to various Conservative commentators. There's a lot of different opinions about there, but I think there's near unanimity among Conservatives about the importance of Mr. Poilievre staying on and leading us to the next step. Just in terms of the role that Andrew Scheer is taking
people are
on.
Confused.
So
Pierre Poilievre is out, or what was going on?
So Pierre Poilievre was the member of Parliament for Carleton, and
size of the riding was changed, demographics.
Well,
changed.
the reality is that was never that was never the sort of riding that was always going to be on the Conservative side, right? It was a riding that remained Conservative because he worked extremely hard in his own riding every election, and he as the leader of the party. You make a lot of sacrifices, right? And he was traveling all over the country with his family. He was spending time in every part of the country, in different regions and different ridings. The leader can't be knocking on every door in their own riding in the same way they would have before they were leader. So I think you can see in the fact that he did not prevail in his riding, the result of the sacrifices that he was making by being the leader and by being present in other places.